So we're going to talk a little bit about tmux. Tmux is what's called a terminal multiplexer. It'll allow you to run multiple windows and multiple screens out of a single SSH or console session. This can be useful in limited access situations, which I'm going to explain in a few minutes. It also allows you to continue a session if it's accidentally cut off. I'm going to get into more detail about all of those things over the course of the talk. Oh, I want to preface the rest of it by saying the slide, I was raised by New Yorkers, so I talk too fast anyway. The slides are a little light. Plenty of time, ask questions. I want interactivity, so by all means, if a question comes up, ask. I may ask you to save it for the end. Don't take it personal, but that's But if you have questions, ask them. I'm all here for it. So, for me, I'm Bob Murphy. I'm a Linux systems administrator in New Jersey. I've been using desktop Linux for a very long time, and I'm a longtime EFF supporter. The slides for this are available. They're in Markdown, as we will discuss later, at murphnj.neocities.org on a horrible, horrible page, but they're there. You can also ask me questions via email, if you wish, murph@weirdness.com, or if you're on the Fediverse with Mastodon, or one of the many other programs on there. I am at murph@hackerstown or at murph@gardenstate.social. So any of those are good ways to get a hold of me if you have questions or comments or insults or whatever. So let's talk about, well, I talked a little bit about what it was. I'm going to get into the details of what those things are in a minute, but installing it is pretty easy. On most versions of Linux, it's in your repos already. Stuff like Red Hat, you can either yum install tmux or more likely DNF install tmux. At some point, I'm going to be able to drop yum, but they still have it aliased in there. For Debian or Ubuntu, apt install, it's in there. Arch and other similar ones, pacman-s tmux. Slackware was already in the default. In a lot of distros, it's already in the default. I believe SUSE has it in the default loadout as well. If you're using WSL on Windows, you can do it with the corresponding distro that you have installed in WSL. It doesn't work in Windows proper. It only works in the WSL part. On the Mac, it's either Homebrew or Mac ports, whatever your flavor of getting additional software is on that. So, what we're going to do with tmux is, to start it, we're just going to type tmux in a command prompt. And then you'll get another command prompt. Looks just like it did before, except at the bottom of the window, you're going to see a status bar with the current command, the host name, and the time and date. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to SSH into another server. So I'm going to SSH into a Rocky Linux server. I'm going to type tmux. So you can see right now, the bottom of the window is unadorned. So we come to another prompt. So it looks like just another bash shell, but at the bottom, it says bash, and then over on the right, it has my host name, time, and date. So a little extra information to let you know you're in a tmux session. So once you're in tmux, so you're in a bash shell. So what do you do with tmux now? You're in your bash shell. You use a command key to sort of activate, so the next thing you're going to do is going to be interpreted by tmux. So you do Control-B and then your command. Now I show the help command here, but I'm going to not do that just yet because the help command's a little intimidating. We're going to get into that in a minute too. So there's a lot going on in there. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. So here's one of the killer features of tmux. This is the thing that brought me to tmux and Screen in the first place, in work and otherwise. So you're SSH'd into a server. You're doing something. You're doing a job. Let's just do something not important, but we can see that it's still running. So we're running, you could be running something more important than that. What happens normally if you're in an SSH session and all of a sudden you lose your network connection, or your machine goes into sleep, or something like that? What normally happens?
Bad things.
Bad things. Your session stops, your program terminates. If that program was something important, it has stopped, whether you like it or not. So, now this terminal will actually be all nice to me, so I'll hit that. It'll say, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Oops, I closed my session. So what do we do now? I don't remember which one of these to do, console. So, but we had run tmux beforehand. So, even though we got kicked out of that tmux session, tmux is still running on that machine and my application is still running. All we have to do is reattach to that session and we're back. So let's do this. Okay, so we're going to do tmux. So last time I just started it with tmux. This time we're going to start at tmux A for attach. We're going to attach to the existing tmux session. Notice btop is still running just the way I left it. Now, for me, this was the killer feature of this. Like I could stop here, you know, for my personal use, I'm like, nope, I'm done. That's good enough. I'll start using it immediately. But there's a lot more. So, if that doesn't do it for you, now for me, like I say, that's an awesome feature that made it all worthwhile for me. If you need more, there's plenty more. So, in a session in tmux, we have one thing running. Well, what we can do is we can do the command key, Control B, and then C for create. We're going to create a new window. So we've got one session into SSH. Now we have two bash sessions that we can do side by side. And we can run something else in here. Why is it so? Let's see, we'll just run something here. Don't know why that command didn't run. So now we've got two sessions. We've got our btop that's running in the other window. We've got an active bash session here. And if we do control, let me go back to the slides to make sure I don't overrun things here. Oh, here we go. Control B C, create a new window. Control B P and N. So if you imagine as you start your individual windows, N goes to the next window, P goes to the previous window. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Control B, our command key, and then N for next window. btop is still there and running. Control B, P for previous, we're back to our shell. Neat. Or if you have many open, you could do Control B and a number. So 0 to 9 will bring you to the respective window that way. So, split panes. You know what? I didn't talk about limited access. I'm going to talk about that when we get to copy and paste, because that's where it's more relevant. So split pane. So now we've got several windows. We can go to the next window. We can go to the previous window. What if we want to see more than one thing at a time? We can split this window into two separate panes, either horizontally or vertically. And that way we could have different things and we can be looking at different stuff on that machine in different windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Control B and the percent key gives us a vertical split. Then if we do Control B and the percent key, I did it again. Let me show you another command. I meant to do the horizontal split, but I didn't. If we do Control B X, you see down at the bottom it says kill pane 2. I just created pane 2. We're going to kill that. We're going to do Control B and then the double quotes cuts it vertically. I did that mistakenly the first time. So we can have different stuff going on here. So we can we can look at different things in different windows. Now, if we want to get interesting, we can shell into different machines. Now, if I want to move between these panes, I can do Control B and the up arrow. Brings me to the next. Control B and the up arrow goes to the next one up. Must have missed something. So let's do. So now we're in 3 different machines, 3 different views that we can look at the same time. Now, of course, you don't have to shell into other machines. I'm just showing that we have lots of possibilities here within this one window. We can use, here we go, I already talked about this. Control B percent, Control B quote, Control B O moves to other window. So if you only have 2, you could do O and it will alternate between the 2 of them. Control B and the arrow key if there's a clear path either up or down or left or right. If you want to get rid of a pane, I already did that, Control B X, because I started one in the wrong sequence. And if you want to convert a pane into its own window, I wasn't sure how else to do that. I know how to kill a pane, but I didn't know how to get it off of this window and branch it off into its own thing. So that's Control B and the exclamation point. Questions, comments so far?
So back on the other screen where you You're on Rocky, Debian, and Slack. So could you be masochistic and inside of Debian you want to run multiple things? So can you run tmux inside of tmux?
Yes, you can. I'm not so sure that's a good idea, though.
Well, yeah.
I tried doing that, and I had trouble distinguishing which one the command key was going to. Now, if you're on another machine and you really want to do that, what I would suggest doing is remapping your control key on the inside system, so that you can remap it to something like Control A, relive your screen days, and then you can use Control A on the inner one and Control B on the main one. Yes, you can do that, but you're getting into complicating territory with that. Question in the back?
Maybe not ready. I have two kind of questions, but one of them is, what does NeoVim look like instead of tmux? Because I'm having problems with more of the reason why I'm here is because I am a screen user.
Okay.
And I know tmux is better. I've been telling everyone else to learn tmux, and I'm finally making the jump personally. So
I don't know, but I will be more than happy when we get done with the presentation. If we get through stuff, I'll experiment with you with it, because I honestly don't know.
Okay. Yeah. And the second question is, are we going to cover at all today how to remotely or work collaboratively with someone else with tmux?
No, but you can. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Let me remind me if I don't get back to it.
All right, sounds good.
Did you have a follow-up question?
It might be related to his. Like, so you attached. So if I attached, if I terminated my thing and someone logged in as the same account, they could reattach to that session I already had.
If they log into the same account, yes.
What would happen?
They already have the privileges of that account, so I don't know if that hurts you as much as you might think.
Oh yeah, I wasn't quite worried about that. I was just kind of more curious of it's a pleasant side effect. Like if my internet goes down, then I have to call my buddy to finish the job or something like that.
Yes.
But conversely, can I have someone also shell into that same thing and attach to the session I'm already on so they can kind of shadow what I'm doing?
Yes.
You can with tmux? I was going to say, I'm not sure. I know you can do it with screen, but you have to actually enable a rather security horrifying, like
You need something
SUID.
equal with it. That's what I was kind of hoping you would know off the top.
Yeah, you have to do like an SUID on an executable in the bin directory that you probably shouldn't.
So here, I have a piece of advice for everyone for a cheat on how to do this, how I have used it as a consumer. If anyone uses GitHub Actions and you have a specific runner that you want to get hands on the keyboard, there's a way to hop on your GitHub runner and it uses that tmux action for you through the OAuth that GitHub uses. So you can look at that and you can one-for-one translate that that mapping to how to use tmux, and that works just like GitHub Copilot, which is actually what's underneath for VS Studio Code for the live share.
That sounds so easy.
No, but just GitHub Actions, just be like hop on the runner and that will tell you how to do everything.
Yeah, like I said, I know you could do it in screen. I don't recall whether you could do it in this. We'll look it up later though. Okay. So here's a neat function. So now I'm in three different windows with three different machines. We can synchronize the panes. So you can do sort of like Terminator if you're running on a Linux system. We can set it so everything you type goes into all three of them. So we do. And it's not a pretty command. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open command mode to do this. tmux has a very rich command mode with lots of things you can do with it. This is a brief introduction to tmux. So I'm barely going to scratch the surface on a lot of this stuff. So we're going to do Control V and then colon to open command mode. You see the status bar at the bottom went yellow. Set W. Synchronize panes. Did I spell that right? Synchronize panes? Wow, I think that's the first time I got it on the first shot. I did this the other day and typed it wrong a zillion times in a row. So now we can do, when we do commands, they'll go to all of them. So you can see. Now, of course, mind you, this is dangerous stuff. So if you're logged into your home directory on one machine and you're logged into temp on the other, and then you're logged into bin on the third, and you type rm* because you think you're in temp, no, you're in all of them, and you've wiped out everything in your users directory in one machine and all of your commands in another. So just use this with some degree of caution because you're wreaking havoc across many multiple machines. Questions, comments? Okay, I am going to turn this off because dangerous. Control B colon, it actually has a command history, so I'll go back up. And you can see now we're back to where we were where we're split. So that's neat. Again, but dangerous. Copy and paste. So where this is used now, I'm on a nice graphical terminal, so I can just cut and paste at will. You asked about limited situations earlier. What did I mean by that? If you're at something like you're using VMware and you're at the console, or you're on a TTY and you don't have the mouse support set up, or Azure terminal, like Azure Serial Console, there's some cut and paste, but I don't know, it doesn't work really great for me. tmux has its own set of cut and paste functions and buffers. So you can cut and paste within a tmux session and do that. Does that answer your question on limited capability? Or if you're stuck with just one login, some systems are very restricted. If you log in once with SSH, that's it. A second one won't go. So you have to make the best of what you have. tmux and this cut and paste can make things a lot easier for that sort of situation. So, now, here's a neat thing. Presentation software I'm using absolutely would not highlight the Control B and the right square bracket. I don't know why. I couldn't figure it out. So pretend that was actually highlighted when I started. So you do Control B, and then the left square bracket puts you into copy mode. Another interesting, I'll show you one other thing with that. Okay, so that puts you into copy mode. Selecting text, you do Control Space. Then you start, I'm going to do this in a minute. Then you use your arrow keys, you select what you want to copy. Then you do Control W to stop selecting. That puts what you've selected in the buffer. Then when you go to another window or pane, or you just exit out of that program, start something else, use Control B, right square bracket to paste. It's not as hard to do as it is to say. So what we're going to do is, we'll take a look at this. Did I leave a file in there? So let's do, so say you need the UUID, so let's do, the I will be there. Okay, so let's say we need to copy this UUID over to the other window. You're on two different machines, they're both sitting in a TTY. There's no easy way to copy and paste between these. We've got them both on the screen here. So I'm going to do Control B, left square bracket. Now I can scroll around in this. I'm going to do Control Space to start the selection. I'm going to cursor over to the end. I'm going to do Control W. Now I'm going to move back to the other window. And I'm going to paste that in. So let's do, now we'll do Control B and the right bracket. There we go. So if you're in a situation, like say the VMware terminal was the VMware console was the big one. Couldn't cut and paste out. There's no way to do this. I found this is great because we frequently needed to grab UUIDs. This wasn't a coincidental example. We had to grab a UUID to make a mount work, and this was a godsend because you can pull it from one section to another. Now there are ways you can pipe things to files, but this is a little more graphical, a little easier once you get past the keystrokes, which are a little fiddly, but what can you do? So, make sense? Yes, you asked about NeoVim. I don't even have Vim on here right now. So we're shame. Yes, the VMs I set up just to do this demo are not as fully equipped as they should be. Well, next time. Okay. So there's actually mouse support as well, believe it or not. So if you have a system that supports it, and most terminals I've seen do, and even Putty on Windows does, I tried it on that, it didn't seem to work well enough. So we're going to do another command. It's another slightly ugly command, but it's there if you need it. So, go over here, we're going to do LB colon, go into command mode, then it's set dash G, mouse on. My confidence level, not high, let's check. Set dash G, mouse on. Okay. So now, we can grab these dividers and move them around. There are other ways to move those dividers around, but doing it with the mouse is kind of neat. It gives me something to do with the mouse. You can also cut and paste with the mouse. I found that to be fiddly as well, but if you're going to live in this world and you're going to do it, it is available to you. Make sense? Question, thank goodness, because I'm rapidly running out of slides.
Okay, quick comment on the copy and pasting. When you copy and paste, especially if you're using tmux through, let's say, SSH through Git Bash on Windows, or if you're using any other, other distribution to SSH to it, or use Putty, use Control Insert and Shift Insert for your copy and paste. It does unformatted buffering, and it will allow you to go from inside the window. It is actually the original Control and Copy commands that we've all forgotten.
Okay, but that's not related to this. That's
Yeah, it is actually for when you try to copy paste inside the window, because sometimes the formatting like this. Anyway.
Oh, really?
With the mouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other thing related to that copy mode. Notice we've got 3 screens here. If I scroll the mouse, what happens? I don't even want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So say I want to scroll up in my Debian terminal. Copy mode is useful for scrolling back through the scroll back buffers on all of these, by the way. Forgot to mention that in the slides. So we'll do Control B. I'm hitting the left arrow. Now I can scroll back through that. I haven't done that much in it, but there was enough to scroll back anyway. So, and then you can just Control C to get back to your prompt. So, just a little tip. You know what, I'm going to do this later. I'm not going to blow this up. Be a demo. Watch, I'll do that and everything will go crazy. Let's not get too nuts. Any other questions? Yes?
Is it Control B release, or is it Control B and then the key?
Control B release and then hit the next. Control B sets it up that the next character will be interpreted by tmux as opposed to the shell within tmux. Good question. Yes?
Quick discovery I just made, by the way, thank you, is that if you are going to do a terminal to terminal, try to use screen on the other system that you're going to be
I was going to mention that, yeah, you can use screen within, like if you have a second machine and you can use screen on it. So I have to say, I did a talk on screen years ago here.
Okay.
And one of the questions was, how come you use the screen, you don't use tmux? At the time, the answer was because all of my production servers already have screen on it, so I would rather learn how to use screen to do the job I need to do than make a production change over everything. Why am I doing a talk on tmux now?
Because Red Hat now only supports tmux and got rid of screen.
Correct. It no longer natively has screen in the repos. You could install screen on it if you want to go through the trouble, but it's no longer in the easily accessible repos, and we don't go outside of that for our production stuff. We don't have to. So now we do tmux. So again, like you said, and like you had asked, that's a way to get around this, is if you have tmux on your main screen, and that inner one, if you have screen available, too many screens, GNU screen available on that machine you want to do a second set on, that would alleviate the confusion between which one is going to get that key interrupt. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, configuration. Now, I found something really weird as I was researching this. Because I was using tmux every day anyway. I wanted to get more information, learn more about the modes and what have you. If you look online for how to use tmux, on so many of them, the first thing, here's how you remap all the keys to do other things, which I thought was odd, because like I'll use what it has, that way I can jump on machine to machine, and I don't have to worry about the keys not being suited to my particular thing. Everything in tmux is reconfigurable. You can change the colors, you can change every key mapping. You can unbind the old key, bind the new key, make any key whatever you want. And now when I went into the copy and paste, and I did sort of the screen thing and nothing worked, so, oh, it's control space, that's odd, it's control W. All right, neither of those are mnemonics for anything, whatever. I managed to adapt. But if you like things a different way, if you want to use different keys, all of those are available. You can remap, you can change anything. And it's so, let me finish my thought here. it's frankly so configurable. Somebody, and I put if you download the slides, there's a link. Somebody actually wrote a compiler within tmux between the command mode and the setup to prove that tmux itself is Turing complete. That's certainly a thing you can do. Wacky, but kind of shows you can pretty much do anything within tmux if you are determined enough and you want to. Your question?
So the question I had is, since the reconfiguration is powerful and you were a previous screen user, my question is, why are you not using screen bindings on tmux? Is it because of the servers you need to connect to that are
yeah, because then I have to change it all over the place or have it follow me around, and then when I go on a new one, I don't know what the key bindings are, what the tmux key bindings are until I switch stuff up or down. For my personal use case, I am going to learn the key bindings and deal with it. It's not that hard. Just some things were slightly unintuitive from my former muscle memory with the old command. Yes?
And I'm guessing the remappings occur just like most of the other configurations. It looks in your home first and then goes out to Etsy for like a system default.
I didn't even see one system default in Etsy. I think it's just in your home directory. I don't know. I didn't see one easily. What was I going to do? So let's do this now. Let's do Control B question mark. Oh, wait a minute. Let me kill some sessions here first. Let's do Control B. Let's go. Here we go. So now we've got this. So in a very Unix-like fashion, if you do Control B and hit any key, something's going to happen. The question is what? There appears to be a mapping for nearly everything that you can imagine. So there's stuff resize the pane up by 5, down by 5. If you don't want to use the mouse for that, which is using the mouse in this situation probably not the best thing. There are lots and lots of keys to do all kinds of things with this, and this just scratches the surface because there's a command mode that you can do a zillion times. Like you say, turn the mouse on. There are things that you have to do from command mode. This is a brief introduction to screen, so I'm not getting into the whole command mode. There is way too much in there. So, we've only got, 40 minutes or whatever. So there is a lot going on in screen. I think that was the last slide. Yeah, Turing complete. Kind of blew my mind. That just came up the other day, and I said, okay, this is what I've gotten myself into with tmux. That's great. So that's pretty much it. Very powerful, very useful. Can make using your command line, if you're, SSHing into your Raspberry Pi and you're, like I say, you close your laptop, it goes into suspend, oh, now you've lost everything. Yeah. Everything, it makes it easy to connect and disconnect, gives you, as you can now see, infinite configurability on Windows, and you can edit it once, see what the results are. Yeah, there's lots of useful stuff in there. Question?
Is it possible to script the workplace in a sense?
I'll bet.
Not something you do.
I haven't tried it, no, but I'll bet you can. Like I say, somebody wrote a compiler in it, so I think I could pretty safely say yes. I just haven't done it personally. Question?
So when you use attach, do you get all 3 of those windows back that you opened, or just the one?
Yeah, that's a big advantage of tmux over screen. It saves your window positioning if you detach and reattach. Now, if you exit and come back, obviously you're losing all those sessions. But if you have windows, if you have, I can demonstrate this. We have, where's my control B? Here we go. So there's a split screen with a window. You know what, I'm just going to do it the nice. Also, the same way as screen, if you just close the window on tmux, usually everybody understands that the session is over, but sometimes it doesn't. So if you think you're going to lose, if you know you're going to close your laptop and you're going home, so you're going to lose your network, better to do Control B, D, and detach from it intentionally. That way both tmux and your SSH session understand that that's now over. You can go back and reattach, but I know I haven't run into that with tmux. Maybe tmux is smarter about that, but screen, this used to happen to me all the time. If I lost connection, I'd go back in and screen and go, I don't know what you want to do now when you go to reattach. I haven't run into that with tmux, so maybe it's smarter about when you disappear, but why not be gentle about things? You're making your own life easier. Detach from it, shut things down, and then you do tmux. And this is something something I learned that can be easy. If you do tmux A, pipe, pipe, tmux, if you go to start up, it'll attach to a session if there's one there, and if there is none there, it'll start a new tmux. So you've got one command sitting in your command history, and you can see we've got the split window panes here. I shouldn't say screen, because that's another thing. Screen did not do this. When you came back and screen all your window, your split windows go away. With this, it does maintain those during your screens. Now, if you were to, like I say, if you were to exit screen and go back in, obviously it doesn't happen. You could probably configure it in your config file to have those. Another question.
If you're willing to experiment, I've just looked up how to do the share screen session between 2 different accounts.
How much time do we have?
We're at the QA time, so you have 8 minutes, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I have quite enough time for that and for NeoVim.
We can skip NeoVim.
Okay, because of course I don't have it installed on here either.
Okay, so I have it installed locally, and the reason why I ask is that screen breaks NeoVim. The reason why is because apparently the terminal colors are greater than 256, and that breaks screen. However, tmux does not have a problem, so that answers one of my problems and questions, which is awesome.
Okay, but you know, I don't think we necessarily have to demonstrate. So you can do have a second person attached to your session?
So yeah, so here, there are 4 commands I just walk through what you need. So you need to have, make sure that you know the user group. It looks like you need to have a shared group level between the 2 users. So
okay,
yeah, so you need to have that. The command that you use is tmux-s. You put wherever it's supposed to be located. New -s for shared. Again,
capital S or lowercase s?
The first one the first one's gonna be a capital S. The second one is lowercase s, and you put shared. And I think that's the name of the socket that must have given it, so you can name what connection you would have.
Okay.
The second command, you would change group, and then you would put the group name that you share, which would, let's say, this default would be users on most systems. And then you put, so it would be change group, put the user group, and then the path for the file that you want to connect with the shared session. Then you do tmux-S on the other user, where it's located, attach-lowercase t, and then that joint name of like share or whatever.
Interesting to know. I'm not going to do all that here in front of everybody, because the odds of all that working in front of everybody, that's so near zero, that's not even funny. But it's good to know it can be done, and that sounds like something you do a little planning, make sure you have a group. I think you said the user group. I think sharing this with the user group would be a tragically bad mistake.
You're sharing at the user group level for the session, which...
Well, like I say, you don't want to share it with the users group, because then everybody can jump in on that. That sounds
well,
like
the question is, who do you have SSH into your box? That's more of a question of...
Okay, yeah, that's all, but it's good to know that it can be done.
Yes.
Like I say, I had it in the back of my head. I'm like, sure. It's not as simple as it is in Screen, but probably because of that, not nearly as dangerous as Screen. Because Screen, if you do it wrong, you open up everything. That's a terrible way to do it. More questions? Comments? Yes?
Are there any session timeouts? So, like, yeah, after a certain amount of time, will all the sessions just kind of exit, or can you just end up having just a ton of other people just exit and never actually gracefully close?
I have not seen sessions time out. I know I tend to open some up and leave them, but we reboot for patches every month, so it's more than a month if it does time out. And yes, you could open up a bunch. That's why I suggest, like when I mention this to people at work, I said do the tmux, tmux A and then tmux, so that way at least if you have one hanging out there, it'll go. So yes, you could end up with a whole bunch of them out there if you're not patching and rebooting the machine ever. So yeah, I weren't, but then, I mentioned to them, compared to our application, the system load of a stray tmux session seems infinitesimal compared to, some of the other stuff. Yes?
If you had multiple tmux sessions open, how would you switch between them? Like attach
That was the problem. I don't have it. So the way I would do it is, say you had another machine that you were SSHing into and you wanted to tmux in that, I would remap, like if you were going to do this on the regular, I would remap the command key on the second machine, so that way, like Control B is your main one, Control A is your sub one. So yes, you can do it. You're making your life complicated. So if you need to, that complication may be worth it. If you're just doing it for kicks, use Screen on the other one, and then you don't have these problems. Another comment?
Yeah, actually a question.
Okay.
There's a previous security vulnerability that was known for a screen session only open in SSH terminal. My question is, was there a similar issue reported for tmux?
I do not know. I kind of vaguely remember the one with screen,
Thank you. All right.
but at the time I wasn't using tmux, so I didn't pay any attention to that. And if it's still out there this long after that, boy, shame on them. But it seems unlikely that if there was a problem, it would be unaddressed, considering light was shined on it in the screen.
Okay.
So I can't give a qualified answer, but it seems likely that it would have been fixed if it was. Yes?
Might be out of scope for today's talk, but have you worked at all with named tmux sessions?
I'm aware of them. I should use them, like when I'm here and I'm doing things, but I do not. And I don't do it at work either, because I just open one and keep doing it. So yes, you can name your session, so you could have multiple sessions open. You can do tmux A and the session name, or tmux dash something in the session name. You can definitely open them by session name if you've done that.
You have 3 sessions there going, so if you exit out of that and do a tmux ls, would it show all 3?
No, I'm all in one session. I have many windows open, but there is one session.
So if you do a tmux ls, you'll just see that one.
Yes, we will see one session. So that's why I'm like, I definitely know that there are uses for it. I have never had that use, so I haven't really tried it, but I know for a fact you can name sessions, you can exit out of one, you can enter into the other. That's definitely there. What was the question about that?
I was just curious if if it's something that you've ever
Absolutely there, absolutely supported. I haven't worked with it just because I don't have the use case for it. So, I think if we do, let's go to another screen.
It's just ls, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Oh, because I'm in Debian. I'm not in the.
Yeah, you're not on
There we go. So session 0, 3 windows. So we've got 3 windows, but there's only one session, session 0. Could I start more? Yes. Could you name them? Yes. Do I remember to name them ever? No, I do not.
But you get attached to them by the number. Like,
Yeah, you could figure it out by PID as well, or you could go by the number there. More questions? Yes.
Just a remark about screen sharing. At least experimentally here, this is Debian. If you don't mind having both users log in or sudo into the same account,
Yeah, you could do that too. If you're
just tmux.
Yeah, you could do it as if 2 people have root access. You could, if the tmux session was opened by root, both people could, or any arbitrary account, both people could open that. That was the way we got around in the screen.
That's usually what I
Use one joint. Like the only time we ever did it was the 2 of us are both administrators. Like, oh, we both have root anyway. Start screen with that, but it just doesn't come up that often. I have other questions on why I'm running 3 full-fledged VMs on a recycled Chromebook from 12 years ago and 4 gigs of RAM, and somehow it works.
I should have one kind of question with that. Why not use nspawn instead?
Nspawn for
Systemd nspawn.
It's a container.
because I don't know that much about that, and I haven't done
Okay,
it.
no, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm a weirdo that said, oh, I only need 1, so I'll just do it in a VM. And then I said, but I could do 3 windows, and then I could do the synchronized panes thing, so I'll just do other things, and that way you'll see that there's different distros. That's how I get down. And yes, you can make 3 VMs work and do the presentation in text mode. Was there another question?
Would it be a good or a bad idea to have tmux just automatically start when you want to do the terminal?
Some people do that, some people like that. We tried it in our environment, and it failed in all kinds of weird ways. Like the main application we needed to work would have none of that, and nothing worked. So we said, all right, we're not doing that. So we bailed out of it. So yes, you can do it. I've seen tutorials on how to do it, but wow, your mileage will definitely vary, because our mileage was bad when we did that. We wanted it, it would be easier if you're just in tmux already. But then I could see if I had to SSH to a bunch of machines and each of those starts their own tmux session. I'm kind of glad it didn't work, because then we don't have to fight it on other times. So, yes.
How much RAM did you manage to cram in that little Chromebook?
What's that?
How much RAM did you manage to call?
4 gigs.
Nice.
Who could possibly need more than that?
This is minimal viable laptop for this presentation, let me tell you. This is skimming along the bottom of making this work. Let's see, how much RAM? I have a gig of RAM available, go figure.
So we are out of time now because we don't want to deprive you of the lightning talks. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and